master criminal and all around geek in general. Geek in general. You sons of bitches. How do you equate evil with geek, you asses? Coming out December 11th, 1992, right in time for the holiday season in North America. Here we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist, known as Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in Europe. What is it with the ninja that the Europeans don't like? I thought it was America that had problems with the names and stuff, but no, apparently it's a thing in Europe too. It's a little too sensitive. We don't like the term ninja in Europe, I guess. I don't know. Anyone from Europe who wants to shed some light on that one for me, feel free to do that in the comments. So the Hyperstone Heist here, in terms of modern reviewers, when they tend to look at this game, it occupies this strange middle ground area when it comes to them. Now this game is loosely based around the arcade game Turtles in Time, which also was ported to the Super Nintendo. And of course, when anybody talks about that game, and they always refer to the Super Nintendo version, they forget that it was originally an arcade game, and the Super Nintendo was a port. Also note that I'm playing this game on the 100% default settings of normal difficulty, 3 lives, and 3 continues. That will come into play later. I'm hoping my perspective of this game is going to be relevant in terms of modern reviewers, because I didn't have this game back in the day, nor did I have Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. I had the Sega Genesis and the regular Nintendo for consoles, and the Amiga for the computer. Now, I was a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I loved the cartoon, and I loved the first 2 movies, especially. I had the third one as well as a kid, but no, I didn't like that one too much. And these days, I don't even like the second one, really. I just like the first one. Anyway, not only did I like the cartoon and the movies, I also had action figures. My mom was one of those people that ran into the store with all the crazy people in the shopping holiday season to get me some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures. Raphael, I'm playing as Raphael here because, yes, that's always been my favorite, because he's the introspective, very misunderstood guy with, but he's got a heart of gold. He's very powerful, and people do not respect him, but he's the best. He's the best. He's always the best in my eyes. All the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are very, they've got these well-defined, maybe stereotypical kind of personalities. Leonardo is the typical hero figure. Donatello is, the nerd figure. Michelangelo is the goofball. Raphael is the only one that ever had any depth, so I immediately was attracted to Raph. So yes, I am a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I had a couple of the games for the regular, original Nintendo Entertainment System. I had the first one, and I enjoyed that one, unlike a lot of people these days. I enjoyed it then. I still think it's an okay game. I never beat the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I got very far, almost. I got to the Technodrome. Then, of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 came out, which, now that was a port of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. And I played that one to death, and I defeated it as a kid. Now, there was also a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 for the Nintendo, which was its own Nintendo thing. It was not ported to anywhere else. It was not an arcade game or anything, but it was based off the arcade style, the beat-em-up kind of style that this one here is. I did not personally own the third one, but I did play it many times at a friend's house, so I definitely enjoyed that one as well. So I'm telling you that so that you'll understand better when I say that this game right here, it's my favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that I've ever played. And I'm telling you, I had experience, and I loved the original games on the Nintendo. This is my favorite one right here. Now, I haven't really put in much effort into the Super Nintendo Turtles in Time, which a hell of a lot of people seem to think that is the best beat-em-up of all time, even. I felt I've seen it enough to where I can tell you guys that unlike a lot of people, I don't think this is a ripoff or a copycat of Turtles in Time. I really don't. And I even looked, not before I played the game, but before I did this commentary here, I looked at a long play online just to make sure, just to see, and it's more similar than I thought it was, but it's at the same time it's a very different game at the same time. So my overall thoughts of what other people do when they review this game is they put it in this weird area where they don't seem to respect it because it's copying a lot from the Turtles in Time. Now, at the same time, they realize that they like Turtles in Time, so they do give this one some kind of credit, and they seem to like it a lot when it comes to the Sega Genesis, but still, it's not Turtles in Time, and they don't like that. It's this awful kind of middle ground area where they don't give it any respect because it's copying, but they don't give it any respect because it's not a copy. It's awful the way I feel that people review this game. It seems to be a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, and I think a lot of that does have something to do with what they grew up with. They grew up playing the Super Nintendo version. Again, none of these people ever mention the arcade. They grew up playing the Super Nintendo version. That's the one they like. Well, I didn't happen to play the Super Nintendo version. Here I'm playing this one, and I'm telling you all, I haven't played the Super Nintendo version enough to, give you my complete opinion there. But I will say, I really like this game. I really, really like this game. I mean, for the most part, it's got your typical, beat 'em up kind of problems, in that it's repetitive. It's terribly repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again. You got to be in the right mindset to enjoy this game. But sometimes you're in the mood to play, an action-oriented game, and this is one that is a lot of fun. It has absolutely gorgeous graphics on the Sega Genesis here. I really, really am loving the Sega Genesis graphics here, especially on my original CRT television here. The music is the best you can hope with a third party, doing the game. In that it's not terrible, but it's not great. That's the disadvantages of the FM synth there. Now, I think it is relevant that when I came to this game first, I'm liking it more than I liked the original Nintendo games that I grew up with. So, now does that mean I won't like the Super Nintendo version more when I eventually give it a proper playthrough? No. But I think it's important that everybody out there realize that this is the first one I actually came to and gave it a proper playthrough. I have, in fact, looked at the Super Nintendo version, and I don't necessarily see why everybody thinks that one is so obviously better than this one. I don't. I really give Konami a lot of credit for actually making this one a little different instead of copying it completely. Anyway, so here we are with a boss, and again, the Turtles bosses in all these games are always awesome. Now, they've got a pattern for you to figure out, like most games with boss battles, but they're consistent. They're at one in every level, pretty much. And it's fun figuring out those patterns for the first time. So here we have L-Head in the game, Leatherhead. Now, Leatherhead, as a fan of the Turtles, a cartoon series, I have no idea who this character is here, Leatherhead. From the manual, a mutant Cajun alligator secretly holding a crayfish. He waits at the end of the sewers for the Turtles. I don't know who the hell this character is. I've never seen him in any of the cartoons or anything, so I don't know. Maybe that's part of the comic books, perhaps? I don't personally have any clue what this character... Maybe it was later on when I stopped watching. I don't know. I've been beaten by a bunch of Teenage Turtles. Now, while we've got the manual open here, let's look at a little bit of the game's story here. Shredder shrinks the Big Apple. Far below the morning rush hour in New York City, four youths are watching their favorite news reporter, April O'Neil, on television. Things are pretty comfortable for these boys in their well-furnished subterranean hideout. That is well-furnished if you're a turtle. A mutant turtle, teenage no less, and a ninja. Okay. So you and I may not be comfortable, but these guys think the place is like Mondo to the max. April is reporting this story from nearby Ellis Island. Suddenly, there's a bright flash behind her. She doesn't seem to notice, but the television viewers do. Whoa, dudes, did you see that? Michelangelo asked the others. Leonardo and Raphael stop their ninja practice and look at the screen. What? Did some jerk in the crowd moon the camera again? Donatello asks from his workbench. No way, man, Mike answers. There was a most spectacular flash. It looked like an explosion. Mikey stops talking. His mouth hangs open as he stares at the screen. His eyes grow wider. Leonardo rubs his eyes. Am I seeing things, or is April growing? Your perception is reverse, my son. Comments a very large humanoid rat who also serves as teacher and mentor to the boys. Is standing in the doorway at the back of the room watching the events unfold on TV. If you will observe, the city is actually shrinking. On the television, April has been alerted to the commotion. She turns and watches in amazement as Manhattan and the Statue of Liberty grow smaller and smaller, and with a flash, the picture scrambles and resumes. Now, instead of April reporting from Ellis Island, the screen is filled with the face of Shredder, the Turtles' longtime nemesis, master criminal, and all around geek in general. Geek in general. You sons of bitches. How do you equate evil with geek, you asses? Listen to me now, New York City. I have in my possession the treasure of Dimension X. It will allow me to take control of New York City today, and soon the entire world. In my hand is the Hyperstone. I know you're watching, Turtles. You've gotten lucky in the past, but you won't stop me this time. So like I said, the game is based off of Turtles in Time, which that game has the gimmick of the Turtles going backwards in time through various eras, including the 1500s, 1600s, where they are aboard a pirate ship. So in this version here, they tried their best to incorporate a lot of those levels while maintaining it in the current time period. So this is a mysterious ghost ship. You don't actually see any ghosts, though, so in some respects, you can definitely say that's a little bit of a cop-out there. But there are other areas, like they go way back in time, like the dinosaur era, and I think Turtles 3 is the one that went backwards in time to ancient Japan, and that is the worst movie that they ever made. And I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of the Turtles going backwards in time element. But yes, some of these levels are recycled from Turtles in Time, but they're done in such a way, and some of the levels are ordered in such a way to where they make more sense being in the current time period. There are more levels in the Super Nintendo version, which you might like if you like the variety, but the levels in this version are longer, so if you happen to like the particular level that the Genesis version has, and you'll like the fact that it's longer, like I like those earlier stages that are longer. This one right here is actually my biggest complaint about the stages in this game, is that haven't we already done this before? We've already been underground. That was the second level, I believe. We were already in the sewers earlier, and this, I guess it's not the sewers, just like a cave or something, but this is awful. Like, the color scheme is puke green, shit green at that. It's not the greatest palette here. This is my least favorite level in the Genesis version, so this is why I skipped it all. I went right to Rock Steady for all you guys. I didn't want to even show you what the level had to offer. So I don't like this level personally, but I like the other level so much that it's okay with me. So here we are fighting Rocksteady. Now I know Rocksteady, yes, definitely. He's in the cartoon, he was in the movie, and he was in the second NES game here. And I remember him being extremely hard in the NES game. Here I figured out his pattern quick enough. Again, I'm playing this. This is the second time that I've gone through. I played it a couple years ago, and I believe I beat it my very first time, but I had all of the maximum. I had it on the easiest difficulty. I had it on the max lives, which I think it's around like 5 lives, 5 continues. And yes, this game is very, very easy when you set that difficulty curve low, which is going to be a complaint you're going to see when we later look at a few of the reviews for this game. But the game is a very different beast when you are playing on the default setting, and I imagine the harder setting as well. But here we are on the default setting, and you notice I have 1 life. Earlier I had 0 lives. I'm on my first continue, but earlier I had 0 lives, and I managed to earn an extra life via my score there. I believe it's 1 extra life at 100, and then 1 extra life after 200 in terms of the score after that. So you're going to see the game criticized in terms of its difficulty. But remember, there are difficulty options, whereas in the Nintendo versions, there were no difficulty options, I don't believe. So you had to beat it, and you had to beat it legit the way the designers wanted you to beat it. And this is how I imagine the designers wanted you to beat this game. And it's very different when you're playing it that way on normal settings. There's nothing terribly hard about any of the individual enemies or the bosses. Again, you will the bosses have patterns, and quick enough you'll figure them out. I haven't played it in a couple years, and when it comes to a game like this, I do not want to master it before I record it for you guys. I want you to see the human flaws, because that makes for a more interesting look at the game, I believe. But despite that, you're going to see me ultimately defeat the bosses here, and as well as the enemies are designed differently than the NES games, I have to say. You see me using this, jump kick quite a lot, and that was the trick in the NES games, was to always use the jump kick pretty much. Now you are penalized for using it. It doesn't seem to do as much damage. The jump kick does not seem to do as much damage as just a regular, attack. And as well, there are now enemies that are immune pretty much to your jump kick too. So they've figured out the gaming habits, I suppose, of some people, and they forced it. They forced you to use your regular attacks, and there's also special attacks too, which I don't think I use the special attacks too much. Usually the special attacks will take away some of your health in this game, so I'm not too much of a fan of it using. I just want to have some fun. It's a beat 'em up. I just want to have some fun. Now, I never was a huge fan of the all-out fighting games, like a Mortal Kombat kind of thing, where that's the entirety. You're on one screen, and you got all the moves and everything, because the moves are stupid, especially on the Sega Genesis. The moves are terrible because it's, go up, down, left, right, A, B, C, combine. All these weird fucking key combinations to get all these different moves, and you're never gonna fully grasp them if you are a casual person that just wants to have some fun and play the game. I can't call myself a casual gamer by any means. I am a very intricate and deep gamer. But when you try to put intricate and deep into a fighting game, there are things that are just laughably stupid. And I'm never a fan of the Mortal Kombat type of games because of that. Beat 'em ups are different. Beat 'em ups, you have a few attacks, and they're all easy pretty much. This game is difficult not in its enemies, but in its numbers. This game gets to you. The difficulty gets to you in terms of the sheer amount of soldiers they are throwing at you, and eventually, little by little, your health gets knocked down, and then maybe the boss. Then learning the boss patterns, that's where it might hurt you just a little bit. And especially certain areas, especially when you get deeper into the game, there are certain things that pop up out of nowhere. It's challenging the more you go, and you see how much damage I took from that fucking thing popping out of the floor there. So with that talk about the difficulty on normal settings, let us take a look at a few reviews that I found. So first up, we have Electronic Gaming Monthly. It's a magazine I did read a few times back in the day. I don't remember having too much of a fondness for it. And flipping through these pages, a lot of things, a lot of reviews, and it's just too much. It's too many reviews. Not intricate enough for my taste. But amongst the numerous reviews here, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist, Genesis 5 levels, 8 mega. Shredder's back, and this time he's not only stolen the Statue of Liberty, but Manhattan itself. Who can stop him and his foot soldiers? The Turtles can in the Hyperstone Heist. Donatello, Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael must return to save New York. Shredder's not just going to turn himself in, however, and there's 5 intense levels to complete. Get ready to stomp on the Foot Clan, Turtle style. And then I guess we have individual reviews from several of the different people at the magazine. So I guess the scores there 8, so I guess they give it an 8 out of 10, I guess. The game plays like a Genesis version of the Turtles game we reviewed a few issues ago on the Super NES. Although the gameplay is good and the levels are long, the two conspire to make this effort repetitive, even on the easier settings. I have nothing against the execution. It's a great game. I just wanted diversity. Well, that's fair enough, I guess. Hey, where is the software scaling of the enemies coming out of the screen? While it would take a bit more work, the wizards at Konami can do anything. At least I thought so. The gameplay is quite well and the graphics are quite detailed. The only problem I could find is the usual complaint: the game is too easy. There are quite a few things missing from this version that made the Super NES version so good. You can't hurl the enemies towards the screen, and the gameplay has less to offer in terms of moves. Don't get me wrong, this is still one of the better Genesis carts around. The game is also far too easy in the 2-player mode. It doesn't compare to the arcade, and even on normal mode, it's incredibly easy. On easy mode, take a nap. The graphics are very good with decent animation and very little breakup until later stages. The sounds really need work, and with better music and effects, it would be cool. It needs more levels, too. I honestly find it difficult to understand with their words. The words that they use make me believe that these people do not like the game so much, that they think it is a cheap ripoff, and yet the score's 8. And so how do you have these awful thoughts in your head for everything about the game, yet it's still great according to your actual score that you use? Why can't you people better marry these two together? I don't much have difficulty understanding the way some magazines operated with their critiques. So I have lost my last life on normal difficulty, and when you die, you get to pick a different turtle if you want. I believe that's different from the NES Turtles 2, I believe. And you will then start at the beginning of the level, and again, these are longer levels, a lot of them, so you can start way back. Here, we were a little bit lucky here. Again, we were trying to learn the pattern of this boss here, which was more difficult, and I was on my last life there. Again, 3 lives, 3 continues, and that is it. And when you are learning for the... Yes, I will say that the game is on the easier side overall. Again, when you beat a game for the first time when you play it, how can you say it's anything else but easy? Yes, it's easy, but by no means is it a breeze, okay? I am quite a talented gamer with very good reflexes, and you're gonna... Spoiler alert, everybody, I finished this game on my last life, on my last continue, on my last bar of health. I managed just barely to complete this game. So stay tuned for that exciting finish. So I can't call it truly easy. I can't call it a breeze. But again, when you play it one time and you beat it, it's still on the easier end. But it's a goddamn beat 'em up, everybody. Stay tuned to the end, and you'll see how ticked off I am getting at the prospects of being on my last bit of health, on my last life, on my last continue. Thinking that if I screw up, I've got to play the entirety of the game all over again just to get to that point. And I was a little ticked off, I have to say. This is a beat 'em up. I do not want it to be that difficult. There are plenty of games that I love being difficult. Plenty of very hard games that I have persevered through and defeated. This is not a game I want to add to that list. I don't want to add any beat 'em up to the list of super challenging games that I've managed to defeat. They're repetitive in nature. I'm here for the scenery, the awesome scenery. Again, here's that. The cave level, actually, they're reusing the cave level, but they put some blue in it, and suddenly it's actually okay. And I hope everyone remembered all of their boss patterns from earlier, because in this level, this is a boss rush, everybody. It's every single boss that you've already faced, and you're going to go up against them again, along with one extra boss that you're going to see here in a little bit, but it's not exactly easy. It's easier for people that are already good at games, already good at the beat-em-up style. But even if they play at the normal default settings, they're gonna build up a little bit of angst at the end here, because it's gonna come close. It's gonna come down to the wire. And I'm telling you, when you play games in this style, you want to look at the good graphics. You want to be on autopilot when you're fighting. You want to see some of the interesting boss battles, and you want to quickly. You want to get hit a few times. You don't want to, kick their butt immediately, but you want to be able to figure out the patterns, and you don't want to have to go back to the beginning of the game and come back just to figure out the patterns. You do not want this style of game to be hard. Why do I look at this game as better than Turtles 2 on the NES when I played it back in the day, and I indeed beat it back in the day? It's because it's easier. It's because it has these better graphics. But mostly it's because it's easier, and I remember playing Turtles 2 on the NES and having to play the game over and over and over again until I could figure out the patterns and beat the game. Because there was no easy difficulty on that game. You had to just do it the way the designers wanted you to do it, and you had to work with what you had in terms of lives and continues. And in order to figure out those bosses on that game, it was a harder game. And it was a pain in the butt. It was a pain in the butt to get that far. Why do I like this game more now? It's because I realize it's easier. It's better because it's easier. Even though I was good enough to beat the one on the NES. So it's not valid. It's not a valid criticism, people. Nor is constantly comparing it to the Super Nintendo version. That is not a valid criticism. There is historical relevance in looking at all the different versions of a particular game out there. Definitely. But in the end, every single time you review a game, you must look at the game on that particular system, and you have to do your best to put the other versions out of your mind and ask yourself, is this game good? Is this game fun? Does this game look good for the system it is on? Is it impressive for this particular system in its hardware? Does the music sound good for that system? It's all about that system. That is what you need to primarily be concerned with. You can love you can love the exact same game on many different systems. I, in fact, do. Pirates, my last review, I'm telling you, I love it for every single system it was ever released on. It is that good in every single system. It is worth playing, even if there is a particular version that might be better, or Even if the original has its charms, I'm telling you, every single version that was ever released has its merits. And I'm telling you guys, this game, it's not the exact same as all those versions. It is its own different beast of a game. It's definitely inspired by. It's taking from Turtles in Time, but it is not Turtles in Time. You can't have it both ways. What do you want from this game? You want to criticize it because it's Turtles in Time and it's, look at everything, it's just the same game and it's not as good as the Super Nintendo version. You want to criticize it for that? It's not Turtles in Time. It's not. I just can't help but think how much these people would have given anything to have a game that is unique for its system, that it's on. They would have killed for some unique content, something that is a little bit different. They should have praised it for that. They should have all out praised it because it is different. It's good and it's different. That is what makes it worth playing today. Again, yes, I do believe certain games are so good on any system that you should play them on all the systems you can get your hands on them for because they're that good and they're worth experiencing those little differences. But it's not just little differences with this game. There are big differences with this game. So any fan of beat-em-ups, any fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, this is a must-have for them because it is different. If it was just Turtles in Time 100%, then yes, you would have the Nintendo fanboys absolutely insist that the Nintendo Turtles in Time is the best, and there is no reason to have the Sega Genesis version. And you would have the Sega Genesis people say, whatever, it's no, who cares about the echoey music of the Super Nintendo there? No, it is different, so everybody has a reason to have this game. And that includes me. I will definitely be looking into the Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo, and maybe I'll like it more. Maybe I will, but yeah, you gotta understand the way I am, and when everybody else loves something, I'm the kind of person that wants to look a little deeper into the other things that people, might not like so much, might hate, or maybe just think is a little less. That's the kind of person I am, so that's my style, and eventually I'll look into it, and I might very well like Turtles in Time more, but I'm telling you, this is a good one. With all of that in mind, let us look at a magazine that really did highly love the game and didn't have that much bad to say about it. We'll look at Sega Force magazine, a magazine from the UK. Konami are a big name in the coin-op world, and their games are familiar to, excuse us, NES and SNES owners. Or should I do the European thing, NES and SNES owners? But is their first Sega game a hit with the deadheads, or should it be banished to the sewers? Cowabunga, dudes! The world's most famous turtles are finally on the Mega Drive. This is Konami's first venture into the world of Sega, and the heroes in a half-shell arrive with a bang. The evil villain known as Shredder has managed to take control of 3 magical Hyperstones. These legendary gems are said to contain special powers, and Shredder decides to use them in a nefarious scheme to take over the world. Oh god, look at this guy, Matt with 1 T. Remember in my last review how I said that the people writing European magazines couldn't have been more than 15 years old? Well, take a look at Matt here. Anyway, a lot of companies might be worried about their first Mega Drive release, but Konami can rest easy. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a brilliant game based on a cool arcade classic. You can't have all 4 shell heads on screen at one time, but the action's still red hot. Each of the turtles has a neat range of moves that are easily mastered. All the guys can jump, kick, and use their weapons to full effect. The animation is superb with smooth movement on all the characters and colors straight out of the TV series. Other mags might slag Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for being too easy, but let's take a look at the options. If you're a crap game player, you can give yourself loads of lives and continues. If you fancy a challenge, knock the lights down and have one continue. The sound is arcade quality with neat explosions, thumping fists, and crackling skulls. The speech is top-notch as the green guys yell out, "Cowabunga!" Shell-shocked.
and other familiar phrases. And if the rest of Konami's releases are this good, they're going to be producing Mega Drive games for a long time to come. 83%. I would have given it, based on his words, I would have given it more. But once again, I'm going to say that we need to abolish all rating systems. It shouldn't be 80%, 70%, whatever. It shouldn't be 4 out of 5 stars. It should be none of these things. You need to say in your words. You need to make the people reading understand how you feel about this game so they can assume, they can have an idea in their mind that, based on what this guy says, I think he thinks it is, 90% or it's a piece of shit, whatever it is, you have to say it in your words, friends. So let's check out the next guy. Same magazines, the next page. Again, look at this picture. It's another young one. Again, just because you're young doesn't mean you're stupid. Again, I like the last guy, and I like how he was bold enough to say, if you're a crap gamer, it's easy because you can change the difficulty. Yes, that's a big thing right there. It's not a valid criticism of a game to call it easy when there are difficulty settings. So this guy, I have nothing against his age, but again, we have to realize for some of these European reviewers, they were definitely of the younger age, and I think that really does affect a lot of their opinions about certain games. And I also love how he was brave enough to take on other reviewers. That's exactly what I'm here for. I'm here to make a stand when it comes to online reviewers of these games, and I'm here to give it a little bit of a more intellectual thought. There is only one Nintendo nerd, everybody. There's only one of the AVGN. Don't be the AVGN who is writing scripts to be funny, and he does a great job at that. Don't be like him. You need to be your own thing. You need to be your own person. Just saying. So let's look at what Paul has to say about the game. It's not original, but it's still good fun. The pizza-eating reptiles are back with the same moves, same costumes, same enemies in the same locations. This is the first time on the Mega Drive, but their second adventure, and if you compare it to the arcade games, it's almost exactly the same. The action flows thick and fast. The 2-player option makes for loads of fun, although it makes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles simple to complete on easy level. As far as graphics and sound go, I can't fault it. Turtles look very cartoony, and the backgrounds are crisp. The enemies are slightly repetitive, but the end-of-level baddies are well hard and knock down your life meter at an alarming rate. The Mega Drive version of Turtles is like Golden Axe 2, i.e. totally unoriginal but good fun all the same. You'll complete it in 10 minutes on easy, but try it on difficult and you get a lasting challenge, 79% from Screaming Paul. So let's check out the final ratings here, 84 for presentation, cool intro sequence, options, change the controls, difficulty level, and continues, 80 for the visuals, excellent comic graphics, colorful backgrounds, large sprites, 77 for Sonics. Sonics? Is that a thing in Europe? Can you call audio, music, Sonics? Sample the speech is good with all the familiar turtle sayings, neat background tune, 83 for playability, control response is superb, and all the characters' moves are easy to get to grips with. 80 for lastability, due to the amount of options, it has a low loading factor. You people really need to go back to school and understand what lastability means. Beat 'em up games, you can love them or hate them, they are very low on the lastability / replayability scale. It's how unique, how different it is each and every single time you play it. And while difficulty settings might be the tiniest bit in terms of replayability, that's not enough to give it a score of 80. Anyway, final 81 Force, Konami's first Mega Drive game, is a stunner. Future games should be just as good. £39.99. 1 to 2 players, again, yes, this is one of the best games to play with 2 players. I remember playing Turtles 2 on the NES. Absolute frickin' blast to play with 2 players. These are amongst the best games of all time when it comes to two-player games. Now, did I say the last one was the one that loved the game? Well, no, actually, the last one was the one that gave it the fairest of all the reviews. You know, wasn't too stupidly hard on it for nonsensical reasons like difficulty. But this is the actual one that really loved it. Shell Shock. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist brings excellent arcade quality graphics, sound, and gameplay to your home unit. The variety of options guarantees fun and challenge for gamers of all ages and abilities. The storyline and objectives are simple. There are plenty of moves and challenges to make you spin in your shell. The Turtles make a big splash for Konami in their Genesis debut. Here's the final one. Graphics, 5.0. I think that's the highest they go. Sound, 4.5. Control, 5.0. Fun factor, 4.5. Challenge is adjustable. There you go. Adjustable. There you don't put it down. You say it's varied. And to keep the extras coming, to go to that place that no other reviewers will dare go, because they're lazy bastards, we will show you, I guess this is the top in the charts when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles here was released for the Genesis in America. Well, we got Sonic 2 topping the charts. We have John Madden 93, NHLPA Hockey 93, NFL Sports Football. A lot of sports games in the Genesis library. And in America, they were big sellers. We got Streets of Rage 2, Road Rash 2, Tasmania. I'll be reviewing Tasmania someday. World of Illusion, the Mickey Mouse game. That's a good one. T2, the arcade games. Bowls versus Blazers, another sports game. In Japan, even, we got Streets of Rage 2, Puyo Puyo. Come on! Umix CD, I don't know what that is. Sonic 2, Gambler 2, Landstalker, Mickey and Donald, The Shining Force, Capcom's Quiz King, that one sounds interesting, and European Front. Now, lastly, when it comes to the magazines, I just like to take a look at a couple of the advertisements to see how these guys try to hook into the young minds of these gamers. Slug it out on the sewers, do dirty deeds downtowns, grind them up on a ghost ship, surf through treacherous ocean waters, and even ninja till you drop. Make it through all this ninja nastiness, and Shredder will curse the Cowabunga battle cry. But then you must face that Duke of Dweebs on his own turf, hang tough, because he'd love to have you at his place for some fried turtle legs. And here we are, facing the dweeb himself, Shredder. They got some weird names for some of these characters. Dweeb, he's a geek apparently too, and these are all bad things, I guess. I'm on my last life here, and I'm nearing the end, and like I said before, I'm gonna barely win this one. On my last bar of hell, so check that out. Let's give you my final thoughts on the game. Like I said before, I have no history with this game. I played it a couple of years ago for the very first time, and despite having the original NES versions of 1 and 2, I like this one the most out of them all. It is based off of Turtles in Time, and some of it is very similar, but not all of it. It is unique enough to be worth having no matter what system you happen to like or have. And that's the thing about the reviewers that I really don't like. People that were reviewing the game back in the day, well, they had the luxury of having all of these systems. They worked for a magazine that reviewed games. They had all of these systems. That is not what the general population had. They didn't have both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. They didn't have both the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Master System. They had one or the other. If you were lucky, you got both a console and a computer, but sometimes maybe you were just stuck with the computer. When they have one or the other, you can't just critique a game and say, oh, it's too much like the Super Nintendo version. The people who have the Sega Genesis didn't have the Super Nintendo. It's good. If it's a good game, then it's good that it's on their system. Plus, it's not the same game. Difficulty is very fine. Put it at normal difficulty, and you'll be good. Remember, the originals were based off of arcade games. These games here are built for the consoles. They understand you're not trying to pump in a bunch of quarters. That's a thing people don't understand when we're talking about difficulty. Why they're expecting this ridiculous difficulty. You are playing on a console. I want to be able to win the game. I want to be able to experience the game. I want to be able to see the cool scenery. I want to win the game. I don't want to pump in my quarters. I've already paid $50 for the game. Now let me have fun, and you will have fun with this game. And on default settings, it will challenge you enough to be fun and not piss you off. That's good too. I find it highly enjoyable and recommend it to any fans of the beat-em-up genre or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games in general. So here we had a Sega Genesis game. I've been on an Amiga kick for a little while here, but yes, this channel is definitely about all things retro, and I've done a few Sega Genesis games in the past as well, and I'd like to point you to a couple of them. How about the classic, ever classic, Sonic the Hedgehog. My favorite Sonic the Hedgehog game actually was the first one. Check out my review for Pac-Man 2. It's one everybody likes to make fun of, but I kind of like it a little bit. There's also Bonkers, which is a game you would think would be easy for a kid, and maybe it is if you are, again, on easy difficulty, but actually on normal difficulty, it's a game that's even harder than this one, I think. But it's a fun game to look at nonetheless. And how about, lastly, a Snatcher for the Sega CD, actually. It is a Japanese adventure game, very strange in its style, but very enduring in terms of its story, and I think you should get a kick out of that. Subscribe, all that crap, like if you so like the video, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.